Good afternoon, everyone. This is Crystal A. Barbasa, your discussant for today. And today, I'm going to share with you what is parallelism. Again, what is parallelism? So, this parallelism is being defined by numerous theorists and linguists, especially in the literary contexts. So, if you guys haven't encountered or haven't heard of the word parallelism, this video will surely help you. Parallelism, according to Cook, is a device which suggests a connection simply because the form of one sentence or clause repeat the form of another. Parallelism is a device frequently used in literary and related discourse. So, meaning to say, it is the most common literary device in understanding and analyzing contexts. So parallelism is not necessarily to be repeated another term or word, just the form and the sentence structure that is being aligned or repeated, not really the word or the term used. So according to Trall and Hibbard, the term parallelism refers to the fact that coordinate ideas should have coordinate presentation. As what I've said earlier, it's just a matter of form and structure, not really to be repeated or the repetition of the terms. So again, for them, several elements of equal importance should be expressed with the sentence. So if one element is cast in a relative cause, the other should be expressed in relative clauses as well. So on the contrary, the principle of parallelism demands that unequal elements should be expressed in similar constructions. So it mainly focuses on similarities, resemblance, not really on the repetition, because it talks about the equal importances or counterpart of the sentence structure and form. And here, Grande also states that parallelism is the repetition of structure. So meaning to say, it involves repetition but not on the term used, not on the literal context of the literary work. It's just a matter of structure. So it is the refusing surface formats but filing them with different expression. So to sum up, we can say that parallelism may be defined as two sentences or phrases or clause having the same structure. So therefore, a strong relationship between them and its occurrence is based on the sameness or oppositeness. So oppositions have its sameness too, have its similarities too, because we cannot point out the similarities of the things if it doesn't come in binary oppositions or if it doesn't come in oppositions first. So in studying structures, of course we have to learn first how to differentiate in able to point out the similarities of the two things. Understood? Proceeding to the next discussion. So, according to Pierce, he also defines parallelism as a stylistic device that subsumes prominent patterns of repetition at the level of sound, grammatical structure, or meaning. So the term parallelism is further defined by Bodenstein as a under or unifying device that creates complex semantic relationships between the parallel verbal structure while establishing formal symmetries and correspondence. So meaning to say, even they differ or they have different assertion about what is parallelism, they still come at one point. They are all basing on its structure. Although some of them are basing it on the semantic or the meanings and the form, but in the end of the day, they will still talk about its structure. It's the sameness, oppositeness of the context, structure, and form. To further understand it, or what is parallelism about, here are the types of parallelism at the linguistic structure. So according to Montague, Kemi et al. Demonstrate that at the level of linguistic structure, we can distinguish kinds of the parallelism. The first one is lexical parallelism. So lexical parallelism is a parallelism in meaning requiring words. So when we say lexical, it is the dictionary meaning of a certain word. So it is a word category repetition, noun, verb, and etc. Or semantic class repetition, similar or contrastively paired words embedded in parallel phrases or verse structure. So it is much more dependent in the word category repetition. Oh, how parallel the phrases and the verse structures are. The second one is the syntactic parallelism. So syntactic, so when we say syntactics or syntax, it focuses more on the structure of the word. So syntactic parallelism is a parallelism in the sentence structure, right? So it is a parallelism in form, and is a parallelism between two sections of the text that have the same syntactic components. Meaning to say, they have the same components or they have the same sentence structure. For example, now is the time to make the real promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and the desolate valley of segregation to the sunlight path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quick sounds of racial justice to the solid rock or brotherhood, according to Washington, 1986. So the syntactic parallelism here is that the now is the time. They all begin in the now is the time. And then followed by the concerns and worries that the population have. So the third one is the phonological parallelism. So this phonological parallelism has subtypes or have four types. But let me define first what is phonological parallelism. So phonological parallelism is a parallelism which requires sounds. So when we say phonology, it talks about a system of sounds. So there are two kinds of phonological parallelism. The most common type of phonological parallelism in English literature requires coherent clumps of sound, such as the end or the beginning of a syllable, and is exemplified by rhyme and alliteration. So there is another type of phonological parallelism which is developed systematically in some literary tradition. So this is a parallelism between two longer and disconnected sequence of sound and can be called sound pattern parallelism. So as what you have grasped from it, it focuses mainly on the meter, on the sound structure, or how it is being pronounced, or how it is being used, or the sound pattern of the sentence. So, according to Pierce, he stated that the phonological parallelism is the parallelism or the repetition of the same or similar sounds. So, it includes four types. The first one is alliteration. So when we say alliteration, it is the repetition of the initial consonants of the words. For example, Sisi can see the sea. So as what you have heard, it is the initial consonants that is being repeated. The second one is assonance, which repetitions in the same vowels of the word. For example, men sell the wedding bells. So in alliteration, it's the initial consonants. While here in assonance, it is the same vowels that is being focused or point out. The next one is the rhyme. So repetition of the same syllables in the sentence. So it talks about the syllables of the word in the sentence. For example, black sheep. Have you every any word? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. So there is a syllable that is being repeated. So, of course, the next one is the meter. So when we say meter, it is a repetition of the rhythmic pattern. So even in a literary context or in poetries, there are specific meter that can be used, and there are of course rhythmic patterns there. So for example, the big bad wolf. So there are specific rhythmic pattern that you have something to rely on. If you're going to count the big bad wolf, so for four words at the same time, then being repeated by again in the four word structure. So the fourth and last type, or the fourth type of parallelism, is the binary parallelism. So it is the most common parallelism since it has two members. So this kind is called the binary parallelism. For example, found this song so wild and weird. Found this legends and tradition. I shall answer, I should tell you. So there is a two members of parallelism here. And the last one is the ternary parallelism. So the ternary parallelism has three parts. That is, if we based it in the name itself, ternary, so meaning three. So, for example, I should answer, I should tell you, in the bird's nests of the forest, in the lodges of the beaver. So, there are three different structures that is being stated. In the binary, it's just two. But in ternary, there are three elements or sentence structure that is differ from one another. So, that wraps up the discussion about parallelism. I hope you get something from me. So that is the end of the discussion. Again, this is Crystal A. Barbaza, your discussant for today. I hope you learned something from me. Thank you for listening.